About 2 weeks ago, Warren Sumlin told me they planning a jailbreak. Warren had all the plans laid out and his wife, Ruth, was going to help him.
Yeah, I heard the same damn thing, but I didn't believe what Warren was saying. I really thought he was just jiving.
I asked Warren what was Ruth going to do if Shorty didn't give up the car. Warren put his finger up to his own head and pretended to pull the trigger. I asked him what would happen if the jailer refused, and he told me that Ruth was going to shoot the jailer too. Yeah, man, that escape plan was common knowledge in the jail. We all knew about it.
I didn't even believe Warren until that night when I seen Ruth holding a gun on the jailer. But you see, we didn't know at the time she had already killed Shorty and taken his balls. Man, why she have to go and do something like that?
Welcome back to the Coroner's Report. My name is Steve Dvorak, and I was the coroner of two of the largest counties in Arkansas, as well as serving as the director of the state crime lab for a period of time. These days, I enjoy my retirement with my dog Butter, going to the woods and chasing rabbits and squirrels, and I review old cases and look into a few new ones with my partner Tracy Carrington. This time around, we were pointed to this amazing case by former Arkansas State Police investigator David Hendershott, who was the lead detective, and he agreed to speak with us.
Not only did David agree to be interviewed, we also reached out to the woman who committed the crimes. Her name is Ruth Sumlin, and she's been in prison for almost 50 years now. You'll hear her voice in this podcast, but also you'll hear her words from 50 years ago, voiced by an actress. We were working on the Maybelline story when retired state trooper David Hendershott told us this wild story, and we knew we had to tell it in podcast form.
I was the lead investigator in it. I was the CID investigator over Columbia, Lafayette, and Union counties down there. That is one of the most oddball cases I've ever been involved in. I left the house, didn't come back for 3 days.
The good girl in our story is Della Ruth Brewer Sumlin. Ruth is the name she goes by, and she agreed to tell her story in this podcast. The year was 1977, and the headline screamed the sordid story of a jailbreak, murder, and sexual mutilation of a man. Reporters rushed to file their stories.
An armed woman walked into the Columbia County Jail at about 10 p.m. Thursday, forced the jailer to open 5 cells, and released 5 prisoners. 1 man was sexually mutilated and killed. 2 people were wounded, and 2 cars were commandeered before 4 of the 5 escapees and the wife of one of them were arrested.
It's not often you hear the tale of a young woman who breaks her husband out of jail after murdering a man and possibly castrating him.
You know, a lot of cases come and go over the years, but sometimes things just hit you in the face while you're working on a case, and you can never forget that slap. And this is one of those I'm sure that investigators never forgot.
It's the castration part that sticks, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure any man wants to hear about castration. You know, when old man Kelsey loses his coconuts, it's not very funny.
Coconuts, really? Well, this crime takes place in Magnolia, Arkansas. Magnolia is located in southern Arkansas near the Louisiana border and has a long history. Founded in 1853, Magnolia was a hub for the cotton market until 1938 when black gold was discovered just outside of town.
The town of Magnolia boomed from the oil. In fact, that region produced the largest volume of oil used during the early years of World War II. These days, you'll see a few oil wells dotted throughout the landscape, but today the bromine industry is king. This little town is also home of the Southern Arkansas University.
Ah, the mule riders. That's my favorite mascot. Today, the town's population, it's about 11,000. But in the fall, the population of that little town swells as kids from all over southern Arkansas and northern Louisiana return for college.
38 miles away from the town of Magnolia is Bradley. Bradley is just 6 miles from the state line with Louisiana.
Sleepy little Bradley, Arkansas makes Magnolia look like the big city. Bradley is a town that's slowly fading away. Kids raised in Bradley have to move away to find jobs to raise their families.
Bradley is rural, and that's where our good girl, Della Ruth Brewer Sumlin, was raised.
Bradley, Arkansas. Population says 545 now, but when I was growing up, it was 712 people. So just a small a farming community down nearby Red River. We lived a couple of miles from the Red River. I just didn't know we were that close to it because I didn't go anywhere.
Ruth Sumlin was born there into a family of 14, 9 brothers and 2 sisters, and her mother and father. By all accounts, she was a good student, a good girl. Her mother and father worked hard to make some sort of living and to feed their children.
We just kind of stayed isolated. It was a big family. My daddy married my mom, and my daddy was about 15 years older than she was. So we basically raised my mom. So I grew up in the house, a bunch of brothers, 9 brothers. I had 2 sisters, but by the time I was 8, they were both gone. So it was just me, my daddy, my mama, and 9 boys. My mom had 16 kids, really. 4 didn't make it. We were poor. We didn't have very much. I didn't know how the houses were supposed to look. But looking back, we had a raggedy house, not fancy stuff, anything like that. My parents, they acted like they were afraid of people. When people came to our house, we would be in there. Some people would drive up. My mama and my daddy would be in the house, but they would move to the side so that they couldn't see them through the windows.
They may have been poor like everyone else in Bradley, Arkansas, but they were well respected in the community, and Ruth's father treated her mother as an equal. And for a man born in the early 1900s, that was really progressive.
My daddy could do everything, because my daddy could cook, clean, and do everything like a woman could. So it wasn't an odd thing for him to cook and sit and sweeping and stuff. He was real good with carpentry, and he was good with mechanics. He was smart. They even kind of treated him like a doctor. Anybody sick in the neighborhood, even women, they trusted my daddy to go in there and mess with the woman. I know he doctored on people and everything. If they didn't want the baby, our daddy knew what to do.
The family was tight-knit, and they were fairly private, so Ruth was sheltered. The only socializing she did as a teen was at school with a school band.
I thought of it over the years trying to figure out why my ways were the way they were. I know my folks love me.
While Ruth says she did not experience childhood abuse or violence, she does tell a story of one instance of violence in her teen years where she was willing to pull a trigger to protect her mother.
I looked up, my dad was walking behind her with a little branch off a tree. And I had already went in there and got the rifle. And so when he walked up in the yard, I said, you better not hit her with that stick. I said, because I'm going to shoot you. And I already had the rifle, had already put the bullet in it. And he said, Vicky, that's my mother's name. You better tell that cat to put that gun down.
She told her father if he was going to hit her mother, she'd shoot him.
Had he hit my mama, I would have pulled the trigger.
Ruth remembers her mother as loving but firm, sort of a slap and a hug type mother.
When I was 12 years old, throwing a rock at my brother because he ran out in the road, she hit me 2 licks, and my face just crumbled up. And she said, Gal, you so ugly, I can't hit you another lick. And I went to laughing.
Ruth's family valued education. She was the first of the kids to go to college, but they all had different skills.
My brother's real good with mechanics and stuff, and my daddy was like Jesus Christ. He was a carpenter. He could make up anything. I think we were smart people as a whole. We just were quiet, standoffish.
The idea of going to college sounded like a dream to a poor black girl from southern Arkansas back in the 70s. Poverty was all Ruth really knew, so going off to college was like a whole new world opened up to her.
We was like the black Beverly Hillbillies. I was just glad to be in a brick building, a nice place. I wasn't used to that. I just liked being in my room.
In her senior yearbook in 1973, she was listed as having a great personality and a beautiful smile. She was smart and a good musician. In fact, she was named most likely to succeed.
I bet her classmates were shocked just a few years later when she was on trial for murder and a jailbreak.
No story about Ruth Brewer is complete without talking about her husband, Warren Sumlin. 19 years older than Ruth, Warren Sumlin had quite the track record. His crime started in 1955 when he was arrested for stealing a car that led to a high-speed police chase and gunfire in Berkeley, California.
I got the impression that he was spoiled, that his mother had spoiled him all his life. He was addicted, and he'd tell me how he do his mother real bad and cuss her out and threaten her until she got in there. And he'd make her drive him to the dope house, and he'd go in there and get his hit. When he come back out, he'd be all charming and happy.
I suspect he had a juvenile record prior to his arrest in 1955. His name is mentioned over and over again in the newspapers of the time period. Finally, in 1958, he's sentenced to 5 years to life in state prison for the assault of a 26-year-old mother of 3. Sumlin confessed he used a gun to kidnap the woman as she was leaving church and took her out of town to assault her.
By the mid-60s, Warren Sumlin was out of prison and back to crime. I had to chuckle over this 1965 newspaper report.
Sometimes violent, sometimes quiet, artful, and rather slick. The police here in Berkeley, California have identified the Jekyll and Hyde bandit. Police say 28-year-old Warren Sumlin is responsible for a series of crimes after 10 holdup victims identified him in a lineup as the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde bandit who recently took more than $3,300 and shot 3 people. Sumlin is accused of a series of robberies of liquor stores, pharmacies, and service stations between August the 9th and last Thursday. Charged with assault with a deadly weapon and robbery to assault with intent to commit murder.
Always the ladies' man, Sumlin was found hiding in his girlfriend's closet in Oakland, California. He had been paroled for just a year.
A career criminal he was. Every time he was out, he went back to the same old game, armed robbery. By the mid-70s, he was a wanted man for a California murder. That's when he decided to visit a cousin in Arkansas and lay low. He also was reportedly trying to kick a heroin addiction. But one thing Warren Sumlin knew is that he was not going back to prison.
He said, Ruth, if I go back out there, he said, they're going to put me under the prison.
Ruth Brewer's life was about to change forever.
Just 9 hours shy of a college degree in psychology, Ruth was 22 years old and about to throw her entire life away.
Warren Sumlin was using the alias of Warren Andrews when she met him in the fall of 1976. David Hendershott, the lead investigator, he remembers.
He was a pimp. He met this girl. She was a college student and a good college student. She fell in love with him, and he started pimping her out.
There was one moment in Ruth's life that was the turning point, the night she met Warren.
Some of my friends asked me to go over to somebody's house one night, and I didn't want to go. I wasn't real social. And I said, well, I'm going to study. I'm going to stay in. I waited, and I went on about my business. And in a couple of hours, they sent somebody to get me. That led to me meeting my future crime partner and husband, and I wished only I just had a refuse. But that was that people-pleasing thing in me. I don't know. I could have told the dude to come to pick me up. I could have said, well, just go on back. I'm not going. Well, they want you to come. And I went, and it wouldn't have never happened if I had never met him.
Now, you might be thinking, how could a college girl hook up with a dumb criminal?
My lack of experience with men, I hadn't been in a relationship. I hadn't really had a boyfriend, so he was very intelligent. That's what amazed me. They thought he was just nice, but if you give him a half a beer, the whole personality would change. I know exactly when he was going to try to hit me or something if I said the wrong thing.
But looking back now, Ruth knows that Warren took advantage of it.
He told me he was 27. I was 22 at the time, but he really was like 41, and I didn't know his real name until right before we got married. I found out he had been in and out of prison in California all his life. He was a heroin addict. I diagnosed him myself. I feel like he was a sociopath, not a psychopath, but a sociopath, because he could act very charming and normal. He was smart and articulate and all that. He'd hook up with me when he saw me and probably picked up that I was just a country bumpkin, that he needed somebody to train so he could prostitute him and keep his addiction going.
Warren wasn't in his 20s or even his 30s. Warren Sumlin was 44 years old, and Ruth remembers just how slick Warren could be.
He didn't much care for women. The way he did it was all subtle. He would just talk to me and tell me about the freaks in California. He liked telling all about the pimps and the hoes. He told me about the prostitutes and what they did. He never told me directly, Ruth, I wanted you to do that. That's how naive I was. I didn't figure out until later that he would tell them to come by the house. And it was another dude came over the house one day in the middle of the day and came there and sit down and was talking to me, and I was just talking to him, and all of a sudden he pulled his personals out. And I didn't know what to do. So I went, and I got that little knife I had, and I said, I'll cut you. You better get out of here, And he looked like he was caught off guard. And he left, though, but he showed me his equipment. I don't know what he wanted me to do. So I just acted like I was going crazy and went in there and got that knife and I said, I'll cut you. I feel real stupid now.
Today, looking back all those years, Ruth admits there was abuse in the relationship.
I was a battered woman. There is such a thing as a person taking over your mind. Batterers always make you feel guilty like they're the victim.
Today, she looks back at her relationship with Warren with a much different opinion.
He was grooming you. He stressed being you. Nobody's ever going to do for you like I'll do for you. We stick together. He drilled that into me. You got to stand with me no matter what.
Ruth would have graduated college in December, but instead didn't return to class in the fall of 1977. That decision changed the course of several lives, and lead investigator David Hendershott remembers it all too well.
I honestly attribute that to Warren. She had never seen the wildlife, and he came in here and he started showing her the wildlife, and she ate it up, and it just ruined her.
By August of 1977, the lawman came looking for Warren, and he was arrested on a warrant for murder out of California and sent to the Columbia County Jail to await extradition back to California to face those charges.
Warren Sumlin came in and he was a badass from California, running from the law. He came to Magnolia, Arkansas. He had warrants on him out of California for murder, and they were holding him in the jail in Columbia County.
Now, you have to understand the Columbia County Jail was in Magnolia and was a typical small-town jail at the time. Maybe it was a step up from the Mayberry jail that Andy and Barney hung out in, but it was not a big step up. Security was lax, to say the least.
Ruth married Warren while he was in jail, waiting extradition back to California.
And it was in the Columbia County Jail where Ruth Brewer said, "I do," and married Warren Sumlin, taking his surname, a name that she still uses today.
She had only known him for 10 months.
He was in jail for quite some time, waiting on being extradited back to California. During that time, Ruth was out prostituting to get money to buy him cigarettes and keep him in snacks and stuff like that. She had this regular John that she saw all the time that was in love with her, another black man older than she was. He was her preferred John, and anytime he had extra money, he called Ruth.
Tim Rainwater, in his statement to police, talked about the Sumlins. Tim was one of the jailers at the Columbia County Jail on the night of the jailbreak.
I first went to work there a few months before the jailbreak. I became acquainted with Ruth Sumlin in the last part of August 1977. She was Ruth Brewer then, and she came to the jail to see her boyfriend Warren. She brought some food for Warren. I delivered the food to Warren. She didn't see him then. Sometime around the second week of September, Ruth came to the jail while I was on duty. I believe it was at night, and I was the only one on duty. Ruth asked me if there's any chance of getting to see Warren. I agreed to let her go upstairs for 5 or 10 minutes. She could have no physical contact with Warren since they were separated by a solid door and could only talk to each other through a small window. I left her upstairs and came back 5 or 10 minutes later and told her time was up and it was time to leave. A week later, I was on duty again at night, and Ruth came in and gave a sack of something and if I would take it to Warren. I saw inside the sack there was a small bottle of vodka and 2 cans of beer. I told her I'd take the liquor up there just this one time. I thought this would get rid of her. I put the sack on the dumbwaiter and sent it upstairs. I assume Warren got it.
You know, contraband in jails is nothing new. It was going on way back then, and it still goes on today. It's very difficult to keep items out of the jail that somebody wants to get in there so bad, especially if you have a guard or a corrections officer that looks the other way and winks and nods. And sometimes they even are part of the scheme because they make such little money. It's easy for them to be picked off by a smart inmate.
So you could just get about anything back then when you were in jail.
Well, everything but your freedom.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's the hard part of doing time. But Warren sure had control over Ruth, according to lead detective David Hendershott.
She was going out and doing this and spending all the money she made, buy him cigarettes and buy him all this kind of stuff. She wasn't afraid of him. He was in jail. He couldn't do nothing. She would have killed a dozen people for him.
10 days before the jailbreak, Ruth bought a gun from Olive Sporting Goods in Magnolia, 4 days after that, and just 6 days before he was murdered, Shorty Cooper also purchased a gun from Olive's sporting goods store in Magnolia. Both of these guns play a big part in this story.
Every day he'd have me up there and he'd tell me what to do. To get you a gun. I remember I paid $19.99 for a gun. I hadn't ever fired a gun, but I went down the road one day and fired it.
By October, Ruth was going to the jail every night asking to see Warren. Many times, Tim Rainwater was the jailer.
By October, she started coming by almost every night asking to see Warren. I'd made up my mind not to do anything else for her. After I refused a couple of times, she started offering me $20 or $30 to let her see him. She mentioned that the other jailer, Jimmy Payne, let her see Warren, but she never said if she gave Jimmy money. A couple of other prisoners, Ideal Burton and Ricky Brown, said that Payne had let Ruth come up. Throughout most of October and November, Ruth came to the jail wanting to see Warren, but I never gave her any more special privileges. She just brought him food and I delivered it.
The other jailer, Jimmy Payne, would later testify that he allowed Ruth to go upstairs to a walkway just outside the men's cell, and admitted that Ruth would bring Warren liquor and he would deliver it to the inmate.
I got a vague remembrance of Jimmy Payne. He didn't care what I did. He just didn't want me to do it when he was there.
One female inmate told police she was always hearing Warren and Ruth outside the jail. Sometimes they fought with each other, yelling and screaming and cursing.
He would have me to come to the jail every day and stand out there for hours while he talked to me and plotted and spoke in codes what he wants me to do and all that stuff.
Troy Briggs, a fellow inmate and one of the escapees, told police after he was recaptured that Ruth kept coming outside the jail windows and talking to Warren day and night. Briggs told police the couple seemed to be talking in code, but he heard Warren talking to Ruth about making some money selling her body.
They didn't have a policeman up there. No, they had a boy that was about 18 years old. He stayed at the front desk. He had the keys to the cells. And the police only came by there every 2 hours. They would drive by. So he knew that routine. He said they come at 10 o'clock.
Ruth told friends she was tired of Sumlin worrying her. He was always cussing her out.
Every day when I come home, I never know what was going to be. If he would drink half a can of beer, that he would go into another personality. That willingness to take somebody's life obviously was already there, because I really, really meant to take his if I had a chance. I was going to hit him in the head while he was laying in the bed. It didn't occur to me, you can't do that, you go to jail. I didn't even think about that part.
There may have been some jealousy on Warren's part. Donald Biddle was incarcerated with Warren in the county jail, and he told police not only did he know that Ruth was sleeping with Shorty Cooper, Warren knew it too, and he wasn't happy about it.
Warren definitely thought Ruth was sleeping with Shorty.
He had accused me of messing around with this older man, which the man he'd always drive by and say, you want to ride? When he'd see us walking or something, he'd stop and he'd like to get us in the car and ride us around. I wasn't catching up on all that, but I know now. He just liked the idea of having some young girls in his car.
Love and money, that's the motive for a whole lot of murders.
Every time Warren was in jail up there, every time they'd bring in a new prisoner, he would ask them, have you heard about Ruth Sumlin, what she's up to and all this? And they all would say the same thing, that she's seeing this John, except they thought they had an affair going and all this kind of stuff. When she'd come to visit him in the jail, Warren got really upset at her and cussed her out and threatened to kill her and all this kind of stuff. And all of the prisoners in the jail heard him had several severe conversations of him accusing her of having an affair with this man.
Warren Sumlin knew his way around a jail or two, and Warren wasn't going to be stuck behind bars for long. That's when he started working on a plan to escape.
In the meantime, Warren was hatching out an escape plan with 2 other men that were in jail with them. They all got together and they got an escape plan out where they was going to have Ruth steal a car and get a gun and come up to the jailhouse there, take the jailer hostage on the weekend. He'd be the only one there, and break everybody out of jail.
Warren knew he would need help escaping, and he also knew he could count on Ruth, but they would need a getaway car, and as luck would have it, Warren remembered Shorty Cooper at a 1967 dark green 4-door Pontiac Bonneville with a white top.
You need to get a car. And I thought, well, come get a car from me? You get from that lame. That was his term, L-A-M-E, called other men lame.
It didn't take long for everyone in the jail to know that an escape was being planned.
Well, everyone except the jailers. Thurman Moore, trustee at the jail, knew all about that plan.
About 2 weeks ago, Warren Sumlin told me they were going to break out of jail. Warren said his wife, Ruth, was going to fool around with Shorty Cooper to get Cooper's car for the jailbreak. Ruth was supposed to get Shorty drunk and then drop him off somewhere. I asked him what Ruth would do if Cooper didn't give her his car. That's when Warren put his finger up to his head and pretended to pull the trigger. Then she was going to take the jailer at gunpoint and unlock the doors on all the cells. Warren also said if the jailer didn't cooperate, Ruth was going to shoot him too. The escape plan was common knowledge in the jail.
Jackie Moore was also incarcerated and would be one of the 5 men who escaped that night. Jackie knew about the plan in advance.
I had been in jail for about 3 weeks when Warren Sumlin started talking about a jailbreak. I didn't really believe him at first, but then Ruth was talking to Warren through the window outside the jail and told him that she had tried to take jailer Jimmy Payne at gunpoint, but he wouldn't go along with it. And Warren told me that they were going to have to try it when someone else was on.
I guess he could have gotten in trouble because he had pre-knowledge. He could have prevented. Maybe they would have just arrested me or something, and I don't know what would have happened.
Investigator Hendershott remembers how the jailbreak could have easily been prevented.
Nobody knows this. Ruth went up there early to break these people out of jail, and the jailer was a young jailer that had just been hired, and she had a gun, and she went in and she took the jailer hostage, and he started begging with her and pleading with her, I'm going to lose my job over this, yada yada yada, why don't you come back tomorrow when the white jailer's working? And she agreed. So he showed her how to unlock the doors and everything just in case she had to kill the jailer. That's not in that file.
We aren't talking about a big city in 2025. We're talking about a small county jail in 1977 where things were just a lot damn different. A few nights before, 2 women from Louisiana were at the jail visiting with jailer Jimmy Payne while he was on duty.
Mary Jean Logan and Rena Gilbert both gave statements to what they saw. They arrived at the jail between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. and they saw Ruth walking to the back of the jail to talk to Warren through a jail window.
Ruth had brought some vodka, and Warren had thrown down a rope he had made. Ruth tied the bottle to the rope with a stocking. One of the women inside went to talk to the jailer.
The other woman stayed outside and heard Warren screaming to Ruth to do it now.
The women inside the jail speaking to the jailer said that's when Ruth came inside the building and had kept her hand in her purse all the time she was in there, and it just seemed strange to her. That's when Ruth allegedly told the woman to leave because she wanted to talk to the jailer alone. A short time later, Ruth came running out of the building crying and went to the window where she could talk to her husband.
The women testified later at trial that they went back into the building and jailer Jimmy Payne, he was laughing and said that the dizzy broad tried to get him to let Warren out. He said that she had a .22 and was planning on doing something, but he talked her out of it.
Ruth Sumlin gave a statement to the police about what happened that night in the jail following her arrest. She admitted that 2 months prior, Warren had started talking about breaking out of the jail. Saturday before the jailbreak, she said she went into the jail and spoke to Jimmy Payne.
She said she had the pistol in her purse and showed it to the jailer, telling him to get the keys and let her husband out of jail.
According to Ruth, Jimmy Payne told her, don't fool with me. If you really want to do something, wait until the white jailer comes on because he's a jellyfish.
Of course, Jimmy Payne told a little bit different of a story to the police.
Ruth came to the jail for a visit with her husband, Warren. She told me to go, led Warren out, and I thought she was just joking. I didn't see a gun, and I thought she was just jiving with me. She was persistent a little bit, but I didn't give any credit to what she said. I did take $20 from Ruth and let her in Warren's cell so they could partake in the act of intercourse. When she left the jail, we were laughing together. I didn't take whiskey to any prisoner or allow anyone else to do so.
Hendershott never did buy the story that jailer Jimmy Payne was peddling that night.
I wanted to arrest that jailer and charge him as an accomplice. And the prosecuting attorney at the time and the sheriff asked me not to do that because they were afraid of getting the county sued.
When the Saturday night jailbreak didn't happen, Ruth devised another plan. She planned on busting Warren and the rest of the prisoners out the next Thursday, which happened to be Thanksgiving 1977.
Ruth decides that she's got to get this done now. It's got to get done the next day for sure. And she's been accused of being in love with this guy.
But first, she had to find a way to get rid of J.Y. Shorty Cooper.
This concludes the first part of this episode of the Coroner's Report, Ruth Sumlin for the Love of a Good Woman. If you like our content, please remember to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions or comments, reach out to us on our website at coronersreport.net or on any social media platform at The Coroner's Report. Special thanks goes to Ruth Sumlin and David Hendershott for speaking to us about what they remember from this time. Copyright 2025 Aussie Grove Media Group, LLC.